justice for all. I will read the July 1st meeting minutes. The Watts Township Board of Supervisors meeting was called to order at 6:30 p.m. on July 1st, 2015 at the New Buffalo Fire Hall by Chairman Carl Radinsky with the Pledge of Allegiance. Due to the absence of Supervisor Gutau, the June 3rd, 2015 minutes were tabled until the August meeting. A motion was made to approve the June 16, 2015 minutes as read. Radinsky, Smith-Gall, motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Lucas Parks and Kyle Fritz with the EADS Group have been speaking with DEP regarding the Act 537 update plan. A kickoff meeting with the supervisors, DEP, and the EADS Group is scheduled for July 22nd, 2015 at 10 a.m. Frank questioned the number of meetings Supervisor Gutau was going to be paid for the last quarter. He stated his opinion on why reclamation of Mata Road should be considered. He also stated his objection to Judy Hart being appointed as an auditor. The solicitor will be asked to provide his legal opinion. Zoning officer, 3 zoning permits and 2 driveway permits were issued by Bob Hart. Engineer, the general permit application for the stream bed at the firehouse will be submitted next week. Bixler Lane water runoff. Jerry has been checking the ENS plan for Susquehanna Highlands and everything is in place. He will continue to monitor the plan. Fire company, the monthly financial report was provided. Old business, the 2013 audit will be started June 30th, 2015. The auditor's organizational meeting for 2015 was held. They have set the working supervisor's pay rate at $13.50 per hour, retroactive to January 1st, 2015. The driveway ordinance will be ready for discussion next month per Chairman Radinsky. Supervisor Smith-Gall has several questions to address to the Planning Commission. New business, the adoption of Resolution 15-06, the Township's intention to follow the schedules and procedures for the disposition of records was tabled. A motion was made to accept Spark Energy's contract for 3 years at .08 cents for electric. Smith-Gall Radinsky, motion carried. A motion was made to approve 15 additional hours for the secretary for July 1st through October 1st, 2015. Smith-Gall Radinsky, motion carried unanimously. Roadmaster, a motion was made to advertise for bids for tarring and chipping of Circle Road and Mata Road. Bids will be due August 5th. Radinsky, Smith-Gall, motion carried unanimously. Planning Commission, there was no meeting in June. A motion was made to approve the bills and any bills that come due before the next meeting. Radinsky, Smith-Gall, motion carried unanimously. A motion was made to adjourn the meeting. Smith-Gall, Radinsky, motion carried unanimously. That's July 1st.
I have one with about the auditors for Judy and her husband, the conflict of interest or whatever. It wasn't put in there that Linus said in his opinion that it was all right.
That's in the August. This is the July.
That's July, all right.
That's July, and you're absolutely correct that we can approve the minutes with whoever's here.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Okay.
All in favor, aye.
All right. August meeting minutes. The Watts Township Board of Supervisors meeting was called to order at 6:30 p.m. on August 5th, 2015 at the New Buffalo Fire Hall by Chairman Carl Radinsky with the Pledge of Allegiance. Due to the absence of Supervisor Smith-Gall, the July 1st, 2015 minutes were tabled until the September meeting. A motion was made to approve the June 3rd, 2015 minutes as read. Radinsky, Gutau, motion carried unanimously. Public comment. Kyle Fritz, representing the EADS Group, reported on the DEP kickoff meeting regarding the Act 537 plan that was attended by himself, Lucas Parks, and Supervisor Radinsky. Overall, the meeting went well. However, the scope of work has changed. Instead of an update of the Act 537 plan around New Buffalo Borough area, DEP wants a standalone plan that covers the entire township. Well sampling of 15% of the township needs to be done to be sure the water quality isn't being affected by their on-lot systems. Physical visits to residents' property and visual inspections of their existing on-lot systems to look for malfunctions needs to be done. DEP is also looking specifically to see if an area around the new Buffalo sewage plant could feasibly be tied into their system financially. To assist in paying for the plan, DEP funding is available but not likely. DCED also has funding that can be applied for. He presented a revised task activity report based on the meeting and a change to the scope of work. Due to the well sampling and additional physical site visits that were not anticipated for, the original contract agreement cost will be increased. An addendum to the agreement will need to be done. The entire plan has to be submitted by the end of the year. The timeline is feasible but needs to be moved on now. Bob Mazzaro asked what caused DEP to upgrade the severity of this. Kyle explained that in 2004, the township did the 537 plan that was strictly around New Buffalo to determine whether it made sense for some of the township people to tie into the system. That plan was not a complete plan, and DEP approved it pending a submission of a township-wide plan to be done within 5 years, and that time frame is well over. Frank Paust asked why the Eads Group was not aware that a full plan needed to be submitted at the time the contract was signed. Kyle stated that the request for proposal asked for a cost to update the plan only. Linda Heffenfinger asked what the agreement was between DEP and the township in 2004. Kyle explained again that DEP accepted that plan pending a full submission of the township in 5 years. She asked why an appointed committee person has not been involved to date with the plan. Brian Reisnider asked that as a committee member also. Kyle stated the first meeting was on July 22nd with DEP, who only one of the supervisors at that point. Once DEP approves the proposed plan to proceed, the real work on the plan begins and the committee will be involved. There will also be public meetings for the residents' input. Frank Paust made a comment to the board that under the conditions that the contract was signed with them and the information that was given to them, that they should have been aware that a full plan needed to be done and to have the solicitor review the contract. A motion was made to have Solicitor Fenical review the contract, and if need be, a special meeting will be called if the solicitor finds the contract appropriate. Rudinsky, Gutau, motion carried unanimously. There were several questions as to why this Act 537 plan needs to be done. This is a DEP mandated requirement for the township. Solicitor Fenical reported that the Step Hunter driveway appeal is before the Court of Common Pleas in Perry County at this point. The Poisic matter, a district justice hearing has been set sometime in September. The auditor issue regarding the conflict of Judy Hart being appointed, his opinion is that the appointment is not a violation of Section 916 and the township audit is being done by an independent CPA. The supervisor meeting pay compensation, his opinion is that the previous law allowed the auditors to set the compensation, and that was done in prior years in the township. There were subsequent changes to the law that said it should be done by ordinance, but that the prior law, until the ordinance is adopted, stands pat. What the auditors set compensation at still controls. The board has the right to adopt an ordinance that applies to all incoming supervisors. However, the old laws historically allow the auditors to set the per meeting compensation. A motion was made to send the saldo copy to the Watts Township Planning Commission and the Perry County Planning Committee for the comments and reviews. Gutau, Rudinsky, motion carried unanimously. Sean Krumlich asked if there is a warranty on the line painting as they are fading already. The cul-de-sac on Notch Road has become a nuisance at night and asked if a dusk to dawn light could be put up or if something could be done. The board will look into it. Frank Paust cautioned the board that halfway through the year, 53% of the budget has been expended. He asked the board to formulate a plan to bring the spending under control. Zoning officer, 2 permits were issued, both to Fine Line Homes for a sign and a zoning permit for their demo home on Lot 1. The Tri-County Planning Commission has come up with the funds to do the traffic study. Engineer, Jerry was not in attendance. Fire company, due to vacations, there was nothing to report. Unfinished business. The 2013 audit is in the process of being completed. Resolution to dispose of records. After much discussion, it was decided by the board to not adopt the resolution and to house the old records in boxes and store them above the office. Driveway committee proposed ordinance. A motion was made that all public Watts Township officials that wish to comment on the proposed driveway ordinance and any of its provision, please put those comments in writing and have them ready to present to the Planning Commission on September 9th, 2015. Gutau, Rudinsky, motion carried unanimously. Several residents complained about the recent grading of the roads that were done. Roadmaster, the tar and chip bid for Circle Road and Motter Road was open. Hammaker East was the only bidder. Mater Road was $19,269.60. Circle Road, $7,526.80. The bid total is $26,796.40. A motion was made to table the bid until Supervisor Smithall can give his opinion. Rudinsky, Gutau, motion carried unanimously. Planning Commission, July minutes have been submitted. The zoning officer was instructed to investigate the number of buildings on the Snyder lots. Linda Heffenfinger asked if the dirt and gravel grant was applied for. Carl said he gave the paperwork to Jerry Spees to work on. Linda received comment from Neil Imes that it has not been applied for. Carl will follow up. The motion was made to approve the bills and any that come due before the next month. Rudinsky, Gutau, motion carried unanimously. A motion was made to adjourn the meeting. Rudinsky, Gutau, motion carried unanimously.
Is there a motion accepted?
I have a question on the question. It said that I said you were 53% of the budget. It was actually 150% of the 6-month budget.
It's up to the board to decide whether to accept the minutes or make an amendment.
That's what I said.
That'll be noted in the record. Go ahead. Accept.
Motion made.
So the minutes will not be corrected, is that
If
allowed?
you want this to be put, you can put this in the minutes
Okay.
now. For this month.
Okay. I'll put it in for this one.
It'll be
Okay.
put in for this month.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion, second.
A second, all fair aye.
Okay.
No.
For the each.
These were, yeah,
Yep.
you're up, Carl.
Let me go first on this each group issue, because you did ask me to look at this matter, and Kyle has submitted some additional information. It is correct, the original contract with the each group was $32,800. Subsequently, they're asking for an addendum to add about $12,000 to that. And the reason for that is that after this meeting with DEP, Kyle indicated that there needs to be a couple items that they were not planning for in the original contract. The main one being that the each group was going to use window surveys, mail-out surveys on, I guess, water and on-lot sewage systems. Instead of that, DEP wants what's called a Tier 1, which is on-site sampling from at least 15% of all residents. And secondly, the sewage disposal needs study. It needs to include the whole township, not just certain areas that was originally planned for in this update. So in essence, the each group is looking at about 120 additional hours for this work that they indicate was not planned for, and this was a result of the pre-planning meeting with DEP. As I reviewed the contract, the only two items that occurred was the kickoff meeting with the supervisors and the pre-planning meeting with DEP. At that point, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but at that point, you looked over the whole issue, and that's when you came forth with this proposal indicating that it cannot be done.
Right. At the meeting with DEP, we took to them our draft task activity report to get their blessing on it before we brought it to the board to have them sign. At that meeting, that's when they said it wasn't in line, the additional items were required. So then we revised the task activity report and brought it to last month's meeting. That's where we are now.
The original contract is not totally specific. I mean, it's really not specific on whether you're going to do mailers or whether you're going to do on-site sampling. That looks to be an open item. And so that's where you're at. That's where the board is at right now. The each group said it was not part of their original contract. It appears that the only two items that are done in the original contract, like I said, were the kickoff meeting and pre-planning meeting. And I think the board is at a point where they have to decide whether you want to go forward with this addition to the contract. It is a substantial addition, there's no question. It's approximately $12,000. But at the same time, from talking to Kyle and with the additional information they submitted, it appears that it's a labor-intensive issue, and that is the reason that they are seeking, it came forth with this addition. I suppose the board could possibly start this task all over if they wanted to, but your backs are up against the wall to some degree here. DEP is the one demanding this.
By the end of the year.
Yeah. It's by the end of next year, it's December of 16.
16, but it has to be started. This is a process that takes some time. But at the same time, it appears that the only items done on the original contract, like we said, were 2 items. So, I mean, there is the possibility, I guess, if the Board of Supervisors wanted to consider, maybe you'd have to pay the Eads group for whatever work they've done, and going out again with proposals, that's the other alternative.
Well,
I mean, there would be,
that's way out of the ballpark.
pardon?
That's going to throw us way out of the ballpark then, because whenever we put these out for bids, they all bid the same thing. Nobody realized they were going to change the ballgame down there on us. See, that's our whole problem.
The DEP controls this.
Yes, the guy that's in charge is going to retire by next year, and he would like to have it done, and we would like to have it done too, because we get somebody new in there, they can put a ballgame under it.
Now, in this case, the pre-planning meeting with DEP was after the fact, so it is what it is. I mean, you're left with deciding this issue,
Yeah.
and like I said, it appears, well, there is approximately 120 additional hours being added.
You have to come up with 15% of the population,
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
just,
houses,
correct, yeah,
not residents.
correct, houses, yeah, and that would be
Water and on-lot sewage system.
correct.
Well, how many residents would that be?
I had that last month's meeting, just ballparking, it was in 70 or 80, that we were gonna have to do 70 to 80.
How do you come up with a 70 or 80?
It's just 15% of the total, so if there was 800 homes, I think it came out to, I forget the numbers off the top of my head.
But how do you get to, say there's 80 people, how do you get 80 people to
How do you-
comply with you?
That's the thing, we were gonna send out mailers, and whatever we get back, and that's what we were gonna use, and then do the windshield surveys. On this one, we'll have to send out, we don't have to, but we will send out mailers, we will physically go knock on doors, and whoever lets us on the property, that's who we're gonna be sampling. But it can't be isolated in one area, it has to be pretty much dispersed across the township. Right. So if there's 1,000 houses, you gotta do 150 of them. And that's where it goes. So,
I see that as a problem in itself.
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying, it's a huge difference from doing a windshield survey, physically going into someone's house or having them go in, fill up the sample volume for you. It's like a wrong way of doing that.
Anybody here want to volunteer their property? Anybody?
You can use one.
You got one out of it.
Yeah. I mean, letters will go out to everybody with questions on it, and if they're interested, if they volunteer, we're gonna use those people. We'll look at it on a map, see how it disperses across the township, and hopefully we get 15 that.
So your figure on your bid then is whether it takes you a year to get those people, or is there a cap on your bid?
What do you mean by that?
Well, say if we signed this, you want $7,000 more. It was 12. Is it 12?
Right, yeah.
$12,000 more. Say by the middle of next year, you can't come up with the people, and you're,
That wouldn't change, whether it takes us 3 months or 6 months to complete the sampling, it's still the same number of samples.
so your number is chiseled in stone.
Yeah, or 15%. The only thing that can happen, DEP stated this at the meeting, come back with 15%, and they see an isolated area where they feel there are issues, they will request additional sampling. I mean, and that's something we can't estimate at this point. That number is locked in stone for 15%, whether it takes us 3 weeks or 6 months to complete it, that's what it'll be.
I was like a comment. I was in on the original contract with EADS. That number was locked in stone at that point also. Now it's 1/3 more. I sat at those meetings with the EADS. They told us that they were going to do well and septic sampling at those meetings. I don't know where this all came from, but it is what it is now. They want approximately 1/3 more than they bid on us. And they told us this was in stone when we signed the contract with them. So you go with what you want to go with.
I wasn't at those meetings. I have a real hard time believing that.
Well, it's what happened. I sat at every one of them. I was a supervisor, and they told us, we're going to have to do some well samples. We're going to have to do some sewage sampling. That's what we were told. And we were also told that that number was locked in stone. This is what it would cost us to do the plan, period. No questions. This is what you will pay for the plan. Now it's changed by 1/3 more. That's a lot of money.
But the change in the plan is from a isolated area to the full-blown township.
That's what they're claiming, but that's not what we discussed when it was done. That's what, and the contract is so vague, you can't understand it. Even our solicitor told us that.
But what we're faced with now is a mandatory part about it.
Well, I don't think it's going to be, in my opinion, it would not be mandatory for DEP if you had to switch contractors because their price changed so drastically. DEP would have to revise their time frame. We may be under the gun for this plan, under this contractor, but I think the time frame would have to change from DEP if we change contractors. It just seems odd to me that we're dealing with the group who gave us their word. This is what it would cost. Now suddenly we're 12,000, and this has happened before. Suddenly we're 12,000 or 1/3 more than what they bid. I'm done. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have
We have to either.
If they don't hit the 15%, is DEP gonna come around and say, hey, you are gonna have to let them come in there and test the well and accept it? How does that work?
I've never ran into that issue in the past.
You never ran into, you couldn't get 15% of the people?
No, typically.
You're going to and watch
DEP may have set a date for them, regardless of contract who you have. It could have to be done
We've
at
got to
that
get
date.
15%.
If they don't get the 15%, will DEP force some of the homeowners to?
I don't know about the force of the
That could be a real
homeowner,
issue
force
there
these guys to
itself.
go back out there and
Yeah, they won't specifically force the homeowner.
No.
They're gonna tell the board, we don't care what the actions are to get it done. That's what they're responsible for.
Well, you come to my place, I don't have a damn shot.
That's why we're sending the letters out first.
Okay.
So as I'm getting ours, township has to get something done with this contract.
Having gone through this with Howe Township, they had to do a complete total Act 537 plan. They are not, the Eads group is not out of the ballpark at all. I understand what Frank's saying, I do. But, but if they were all bidding on the same update,
Excuse us? She doesn't.
I mean, legally, you have the authority to increase the contract. Legally, you don't have to re-advertise it or rebid it, but that's up to you. I'm saying that would be the other alternative.
Call the other bidders in and talk to them? Since we already gave it to these people, we're advertising it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only fair thing is if you're going to request new proposals, you go back with specifics. But you would have to pay the each group for the work they've done. There's no question mean, that would be, I would think you could do that. I want to make sure that, before we did that, make sure we know.
Yeah, because they have time vested.
Just one other thing, the contract also has a line in it that if it's not completed by the end of, I think it's 2015, they have the right to raise their rates. Now, are we gonna face that at the end of the year? That's a question that isn't answered, but it's in the contract, it's written right in the contract.
I didn't see that in the contract, that's not going to happen.
I think if that's in there, we'll put it in the addendum that there's not going to be any increase in rates, right? And I think that's a good point. That will be put in any addendum if we add on. No increase in rates. If you're going to do that, there'd be a motion. The motion should be to enter into an agreed upon addendum. And this addendum would be a lock-in type deal.
Right.
So that would be your motion. It would be a motion to enter into an addendum to increase the price from $32,800 to $45,260.
Nancy, excuse me, in the notes or the minutes, do you have in there written that by the end of 2016 is when Kyle had said at the last meeting?
No, I
that
put
that
next year,
Yeah, it was supposed to be at the end of next year till it was
the
completed.
end of next year.
I thought that was what it was.
Yeah.
I have a question. Carol Zates speaking. When was the contract written? I mean, for them to make such a 120 man-hours, or is it 120 hours? Because that's $100 an hour.
It's 120 hours.
Was the contract written 2 years ago,
It was written in 2013.
2013?
Yes.
And how many people were sitting in? Frank was at the meetings. Were the other supervisors at the meetings? So, Mr. Rudensky, you would have heard what was being said. I really, could you speak up a little bit? Because I can't hear you, Mr. Rudensky.
What?
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you either, so.
Well, could you speak up a little bit too?
Yeah.
But I just want, if it was written in, what, summer 2013, and now they want 120 man-hours, or just 120 hours?
So the additional 120 hours, as I read it.
Okay, so that's $100 an hour.
Well, it's
That rate,
No,
going to take 120 more hours, but we're talking an increase of something like
$12,000.
12,000.
$100 an hour.
and it's the same.
I don't know, I mean, that's the way, that is the precise increase.
But they only need 15%, which is the same as when the contract was written, or?
I don't think, well, they need 15%, but that was a DEP, according to the DEP, they need a tier 1 plan, which
Okay.
requires at least 15% of on the ground sampling. They can't do mailers or anything else.
Uh-huh.
So that's it, that's what we just said.
That was in the contract.
No, it wasn't specifically in the contract.
Oh, so it was a pretty vague contract.
Yes.
I see.
What happens to if we don't do it? What's DEP do for us?
Well, you've got to do it. I mean, what happens to it, they'll issue, I don't know the answer to that. DEP will,
They'll step in and.
They have it done and send you a bill, or?
No.
no, they're not going to do that, but they can really limit development, stop development, no more sewage permits or anything else.
But let's make it clear, as long as you're working on it, which you would be, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, you want to be working on it. I mean, I don't,
Have they ever done that?
well, I don't, DEP can, Depends.
Yeah, but have they ever done that? Is there a history of them doing
I
that?
don't know the answer to that. I mean,
That's,
it depends if you're good faith, if you're making a good faith effort to get it done.
okay.
But there does come a point in time where they want to see it done.
Yeah, I understand that.
If we rebid it, we would owe your firm some money. You don't know what that would be right now.
It's minimal, because we only did the first 2 items on that, it's right there, that's $1,200.
It looks like about $1,230. They did task A and B, kickoff meeting with supervisors, pre-planning meeting with DEP. So those 2 items were broken down. It's about $1,200.
Well, I propose we rebid it then. Put it out for bid till next meeting.
Seek addition, seek new proposals.
Can I just make a question or a point? Is there someone at DEP that you can contact to find out if they've got us under a time frame gun, or they will reset the clock if we do this that you're talking about now?
I mean, until 2016, I think.
Yeah, 2016. That's when that goes.
But you're looking at, till you get proposals and meet with meet with all the, the companies, you're talking a few months. I mean, this is September, October, November, December. So you're going to be heading towards the end of the year.
Well, I was just wondering, if you tell them that you are starting again because of this price increase, might they be willing to reset the starting clock on the whole project? That's all I'm saying, I'm just wondering. I don't know.
DEP typically doesn't care.
I got it.
Contract was signed in 2013, correct?
You don't have a signed contract, but I believe it was.
February
Yeah, I have
13th,
it.
2013.
Was there a timeline that it was supposed to be finished?
The end of December 2016.
I believe it was the end of this,
Yeah, 16.
Yes, the end of 2015 is when it was originally estimated.
2015.
Yes.
So you're 3 months out, now you want an additional 12,000 for a project that's not even close to being done.
It's not
I'm
behind,
lost.
it's not behind schedule because we weren't doing it. We were specifically slowing down because the board asked us to slow down. It's not because we weren't doing it.
Slowing down and putting brakes on are 2 different things.
Yes, rebid it.
It may be terminated with no less than 10 working days notice, and like I said, you would have to pay for the completion of any work they have.
So then a letter has to be sent to them that,
Well, I think a letter should be sent to each group that, in view of this, we are going to seek new proposals. They should invoice the township for whatever work
okay.
they've done.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Is that the motion of the board?
I didn't ask Brian.
Is he talking about this one?
Who wrote
Say-
the request for proposal?
Kyle.
Kyle, could I ask you a question before? What board slowed you guys down?
What was the issue?
I started working on this in March, and when I started working on it in March, it was slowed down until that point. Before that, I wasn't working on it, so I can't tell you that.
When he stepped on board, it started to progress.
Yeah, but in March, we were told, cut loose on it. That's when I contacted Barry Sweeger from DEP and told him we were moving forward on it. That's when he said, we need it in by December 16th. We said, okay. Then DEP wanted to have the pre-meeting, okay? Tried to schedule it in May, got pushed back to July. That's why we're at where we're at. At that meeting, we gave him our proposed task activity report. That's when we shot it down. He revised it to do all the sampling that they required, and we submitted it at last month's meeting. That's where we're at. So when we send out the new proposal, include that task activity report. That's what you have to do. Yeah, not that first sheet. Can you throw that away?
This,
Just that first sheet, yeah.
oh,
Yeah, but the rest of it, the scope of services,
okay,
that's what you're required to do.
okay,
Include that.
okay.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Linus.
Zoning officer. 4 permits were issued, 2 on Susquehanna Trail, 1 on Oxford, and 1 on Mill Street. Complaints were received from Diane Dillon, and I'll be meeting with Mrs. Dillon before the end of the week. And I took care of the Snyder lot difficulty. That's it.
Okay, well, did you say, did you meet with Dillon yet?
She's back there in the back row. You're going to be meeting with her.
Oh, okay. When you bought that property, was there a disclosure in there about the water?
Said there was no flooding.
Well, apparently you have flooding now, so there should have been a disclosure in there. You do have a legal right to go back on your first waterfront. So you're gonna meet with her, okay?
Where's this property?
Yeah. Go with Rock Shops.
Here again, development.
Rock Shops.
Oh, rock shop.
That water's coming down through there. It should have been disclosed.
Isn't there rates there for the water available to the river?
She has 50 water going her bed. Okay. The engineer's working on the stream bed at the firehouse and comments on the south, but you have those.
Yes.
Yes, you have those. Fire company reports.
Car company?
You got the 990 for 2014, which is the audit from Fort Ball. You got the monthly report. The only question I have before we fall back, like we did the last time, is the lots that are up at Susquehanna Trail and the new development, Fine Line Homes is building. In that contract, we were getting 400 or 500 a lot. When are we redeeming that and how are we redeeming that?
We get it from the township or the developer? That was a promise from the developer.
It was in the contract, yes, to the township. When it's all in there. But that's what I want to know. Is it when they get the permit? Is it when they get their occupancy?
Should have come up with that when the solicitor was still here.
Yeah, what'd you send him home for?
I'm just curious
That's
because
another meeting.
This is like the 4th time he sat here for a half an hour and you guys paid him full price and let him go home early. He's contracted by us, the people. By us, the people.
He's gonna be because he's changing.
Well, then have him come to a meeting he can stay at that we can actually get our money's worth out of it. But go ahead, I'm sorry I interrupted.
the Susquehanna Highlands, the one development,
Yeah, there's.
partially done now.
Right,
We only got 1 or 2 out of whatever's up there, the 9 or 10 homes.
yeah.
And I don't want to fall back in because this helps everybody sitting here. This is money that the developer gives us,
Yeah.
so we don't have to raise taxes. That's why I want to get, I don't want to fall behind the ball here because you're looking at about $36,000 that we'll get once all the houses are built.
And they wrote this on the plan approval?
Yeah, it's in the contract. It was black and white in the contract. But I don't know when we're supposed to get it.
The contract that you're talking about is the agreement that we reached with them to extend their plan.
Right.
So that's that agreement that we all signed and you guys changed for.
I'll have to look
It's
at
written
that.
in that contract.
Because every time you guys give us a check, or they do, we're writing lot number down, check number,
Where it goes.
and the date,
Yeah.
because we want to make sure everything is up to snuff.
People don't want to wear that either. Have they sold lots?
Yeah, there's 2 that got permits up there now.
Did they just get permits there? I don't know.
There's a house that's already up on the roof up
We're
there.
talking about Fine Line, right?
Yeah, finally.
That's the same
They,
amount.
they
There's
are,
2 permits up there.
there's 2 permits issued up there.
Right.
One is for, the first one was for a model home, and that's where that big swale is down the back.
That's lot 1.
And they changed lots, so I told them I could not change the permit that I issued first. We had to get a new permit, and they're actually building on the second lot, their model home.
But lot 30 or 29 is being built. It's up on the roof.
That's the model home.
Okay, that's the model home. Okay.
Well, whether it's a model home or not, or they should be charged with a fee before they get their permit.
No, it was for when they sell a lot, that's when they get the money in the contract. So I would think that the SIP should require them to pay that money to the fire department before you give them a permit. That would be a way to force it.
That's why I'm asking, I'm not here to, I'm just
Yeah.
doing it because that's what we fought for. And I just want to know when I'm supposed to,
I would think
Well-
you have to look at the contract. See
I
what
know,
our agreement
but
says.
But
before
the fee
you
has
issue
to be
the
paid
permit,
before you issue it.
you can say, Nancy, did they pay
even
that?
if it's the occupancy permit at the end, when they do the final inspection, that would be okay. You know, because I know banks and stuff, money's coming and going.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to go in and say, yeah, I need to dig a hole in the ground. I don't mean it then, but I just need to know when.
Well, I'm remembering the same as Bob, that it said at the time of deeding, but the only way to know is to read that agreement. It's written in that agreement, I'm almost.
Because we discussed it in our meeting, we're going to jot every lot number, so our accountant can take care of everything, where it came from and stuff.
I'll look at that contract, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Rudy, do you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I just came to observe and sit in on your meeting. Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, on the unfinished business, we have the sourdough has been sent to BC and Perry County. It looks like our order is going to be found in the 2013, should be good.
And the next week, then we're going to start on 2014.
That'll go through.
The Perry County PC can't look at that saldo till this month, September.
Okay. And the driveway committee proposals, everybody knows about that. And we're going to skip that new business. Roadmaster on this tar and chip there, we should submit that contract and they'll get it to us.
Well, you need to make a motion to accept that.
I'll make a motion to accept the tar and chip contract,
The whole
the
contract,
whole contract.
For how much?
29,
Moderate insert.
yes,
Water and
yes.
If they don't get it this year, it'll keep the same price next year. That's all.
$26,796.40.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will need you guys to sign this, so I can send that to them.
Frank, I've been trying to research what you said about that reclamation of the road. Who did that and when?
You have to look who did that project specifically, but it was when I was a supervisor last time, so.
That was done about 14 years ago.
I did find the
12
folder.
years.
Did you?
Yes, I found a folder. If you want to stop in and look, because I don't understand all that, there was other things done. But there's a folder, and I'll leave it laying there on the table if you want to look through it.
I talked to Hallbaker, Hallbaker Excavation,
Yeah.
They do paving and stuff, and they do reclamation. And they're doing another project up here, they did 1.5 miles for $50,000. And they did a 12-inch depth. And you can set your depth whatever you want. All Baker, unfortunately, charges by the cubic foot or cubic yard or whatever. But it was, that 1.5 miles was $50,000. And the value is there because you're using what you already have. And they're picking it up, they're grinding it, they're putting it back down, they're rolling it, and it's a smooth base. And then you've got something to put solid, and you can even mix cement mix in it, and it turns hard. It turns into a hard surface then. So it's up to you guys, to determine how you want your base put back down. But it was $50,000 for one they're doing somewhere right around here for 1.5 miles.
Okay.
That's
I know.
held up good for 14 years.
I think.
Planning commission report.
We need to, the Snyder plan. Tony?
Planning commission.
My name is Tony Gross, third one Missouri, here on behalf of Bob Snyder. 4 years ago, Mr. Snyder, this is up on the Lee Road, 4 years ago, we had done a subdivision up here that basically created 2 private lanes, Pondview Rock Drive and Fox Lane, and it created, originally the plan came in with 6 lots on it. It was 2 here on Pondview, 2 here on Foxview, and then basically what, right now, this is all one, but it was originally submitted as this was 2 lots. There was an issue back then about this garage existed, but there was no residential lot here, or no residential use. So there was concern about creating this lot at that time with this large garage on it. I could guess the fear being the garage would be used for commercial purposes as the principal building on the lot. So bottom line is, at that time, you only allowed this to be created as a single lot back here. So what this plan does is now that there's a residential dwelling on this lot, Mr. Snyder lives here, and this is his daughter lives here. We're basically just adding this line we're going to create this as 2 separate lots. This plan was recommended for approval by the planning commission. At the planning commission's last meeting was recommended for approval with 3 contingencies, as I recall. The one contingency had to do with the adding of a note regarding wetlands, which has been added in number 10. They wanted to add lot addresses for all of the lots, not just the 2 that were created, but all of the lots be added. And that's now been added. I just received these tonight, so they're here. I wrote them in. And the third issue I'm hoping to hear back on was this 6 lot versus 5 lot thing. There's a question about at what point did DEP see and approve the plan? Was it for 6 uses or was it for 5? And I was hoping somebody had done some research and discovered that. Looked into that as you do. The difference is, to do this subdivision, if DEP has already approved this for 6 lots, we can file what's called a Form B non-building waiver. Both of the uses now exist. We're not building anything. The difference is what form do we need to send to DEP. If it's already been approved for 6 uses, we need a non-building waiver. If it was only approved for 5, then we need what's called a exemption, a planning on an exemption request. There's 2 separate forms, but regardless the DEP approval, one way or the other is still outstanding. But that, to my knowledge, that's the only outstanding issue.
Did the planning commission sign it?
I don't know, I think so, yes.
Yeah, that was one of their conditions, about showing the 5 versus the 6 dwellings. I mean, he's addressed everything else, the wetlands, the addresses, I don't know if you guys, I don't think you guys reviewed the planning module.
That's the
That's the,
I don't see anywhere on here where it was perfect.
okay.
Well, as part of this plan, it wasn't perfect. So perfect roads aren't shown in this plan. Back here, the perfect roads are done where the existing septic. Existing septic here, existing septic here, that's what on this last one.
Right, but the other two lots,
Yeah, they were done, they're shown prior. These lots aren't part of it. They're shown in the basic. They're like a few acres. They already exist.
all right, so that's already approved plan existing.
Right. The only thing we're doing is taking this large lot in the back and putting this line, cut it up as two separate lots. That's all this one does.
Yeah, right, and normally going.
And they both have dwellings and driveways, everything, we're not doing, we're not constructing.
So, let me get this right. This was all one piece of ground, right? And there was a house built on it, a garage, and another house.
Correct.
And now we're gonna subdivide it. That's a bit back asking.
Again, the plan originally came in with this is shown as two separate lots, but the issue then was without the dwelling here, and at that point, this dwelling didn't exist. The concern was with this garage, it would be used for commercial purposes and become a commercial lot. So at that point, you wouldn't let him do something. He wanted to, but because your concerns, he could not.
So he just went and built the house. He went and got a permit, he claims that he got a permit. When he said at the planning commission, he claims he got a permit to build the house. But we don't know if he got a zoning permit, has that been checked, if he got the required township permit or not? He claims he got a building permit for something.
I'm not saying my memory's perfect. It seems as if within the last 18 months, he had applied for a zoning permit.
So we need to double check that. If you don't approve it tonight, you need to make that a condition that he has it.
Is this the daughter's?
This is the daughter's crib.
Yeah, I think at that time he was saying it was for his daughters.
I don't know where he applied for the zoning.
I will do some digging on that.
Just so the township gets their, collects their zoning.
I do know we got a permit for the septic system he built for the daughter's trailer, but I don't know about the zoning.
I will check, see if he does. I'm reasonably sure,
I thought he got one.
I think he did like in the last 18 months.
So basically, we need to verify about the, not just that, but the DEP letter.
How many EUs was the original subdivision approved for? Was it
Okay.
6 or was it 5? If it was 5, now we have to make it 6, is what it was.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind seeing the locations of those other ones, the septics too.
Yeah, I have that in here, I can add them if you want.
I mean, we don't have to decide this tonight.
Well done.
No. We have until October 7th. That's, yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
This was the plan we created, so they are on this.
Well, I think verify that zoning.
I'll have the answer for that tonight, tomorrow morning.
If they zoning permit, then we just have to make sure.
No, we gotta make sure about the letter, the DEP letter.
As I say, regardless, a piece of paper needs to be approved by DEP.
Right.
Be it either the building, non-building, or
You can conditionally approve it upon that, upon the zoning and the DEP letter, or you can,
Yeah, we got that covered.
okay. It looks like it's happening tonight. ahead of time, so that you know,
I have no way of researching this.
right, yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you got the addresses.
Yes.
Yes, thank
I'll
you.
make a motion here.
You never had a public comment period.
That's true.
Yeah, true. Go ahead. We'll let you have it. What do you want to have?
Go ahead, Frank.
I have a question. When we approved the Burger King plan, you guys know which one I'm talking about, the local restaurant. One of the conditions was when that dwelling that was on that property was vacated, the building would be removed. That was part of the approval on the plan,
On the house part.
the house,
Yeah,
right?
right.
That's been empty for 6 months now, and it's still standing.
Not in the guy's defense, but I see that him and his cohorts are using it kind of like an office.
Well,
The
the
liquor's
plan,
still on, and
the plan approval, right, on the plan, the note on the plan said, when that building, the current resident of that building, who was actually the property owner of that building, they sold it to the Burger King, when he moved out, the building would be removed.
That's what they agreed to.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what they agreed to.
That's
Well,
right.
you approved it for that to be, it could be a resident once they moved out anymore.
I'm swearing to
So that
God,
could be turned into an
this,
office. I'm not picking up
this
the
is
guy.
one that I'm not wrong on. This is one
They
I'm not
they
wrong
said
on.
it was going to
You
be
can
tore
pull the
down.
plan out, and there will be a note on that plan.
Because
It says
Frankie
that
asked
will
them
be
a couple
removed.
times if it was
And
going
it
to
was
be
part
tore
of the
down.
approval process, or part of the approval on that building. Because they created a mixed use. They created a residential in a commercial zone, which is an illegal, it's a mixed use. So they agreed that they would tear it down when that current owner moved out.
I remember Frank asking about
Yeah.
it. Yes, that was the agreement.
Yes,
So
he did.
I'm just asking
is there,
to check
is there
on
a
it.
time limit on it? I mean,
And I remember the zoning officer was brought into that discussion also, and the question that came up is, how long do you have to turn it down, to tear it down? And the zoning officer said a reasonable amount of time. And I'm just questioning, it's been 6 months, so I don't know what a reasonable amount of time is, but it seems like 6 months. You're not gonna, if you don't act on it, you're not gonna get it down this year, because it's gonna freeze up, so.
Frank, can I ask you why you want that tore down if it's not used as a home anymore?
We have a zoning ordinance
That
that
was the
creates a
agreement.
mixed use. And
I
mixed use
understand
is
that, but
illegal.
now it's not residential, there's houses all over.
All right, why don't you ask the board and the planning commission and the engineer?
My
and the-
point is,
and the
we're getting
zone-
taxes off of
Wait,
it right now.
Instead of asking Frank, why don't you ask everybody who voted for that condition? Don't just ask Frank,
Frank
ask
is very-
everyone out there who voted for the condition.
Yeah.
And don't ask
Honestly,
me, ask them, right there, they voted for it.
honestly, I was sick because that's a beautiful home.
So did I, so did him, so
I'm
did
asking
Carl,
you, as a
so did the
citizen.
planning commission, so did our engineer. Now, don't just point it at me now.
Yes,
I'm not the guilty
true.
party. It was a conglomeration of people who decided that was appropriate, period.
The company also stated that that's the way it was going to be.
I think the attorney said it was
The
no
attorney-
problem.
yeah, the
He said,
attorney
he was
said-
real nonchalant about it, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good for the health and welfare of the township either. I mean, humans could start destroying it, fire hazard, animals, and like
If
you
you
said, it
give-
is a residential it's empty, it's an empty building.
Ask them if you can rent it out and use the money for the township if they don't want to tear it down. They went back on their agreement.
There you go.
We should get something out of it.
He has a floor plan down like that.
That's right.
I just look at it as typical of nobody following through on what we put on our plans. So, I mean, we gotta start following through at some point. We make these requirements, we put
I
on the
say
plan,
just,
they're
you don't
restrictions,
want to give the money to
they're
the
covenants, they
township.
go with our approval, and then we drop them. At some point, we have to start following through on what was approved. Simple as that.
I'd like to make a comment.
We adjourn.
Can I make a comment?
we adjourn. Go ahead.
I wanted to address the thought that why was each group slowed down? And because I have the ears to listen to what's going on, The supervisors wanted to wait because of the cost until hopefully the economy would get better. It was for the township to not get strapped for money to pay for an unfunded mandate until the economy got better. So it wasn't any nefarious thing like I heard just a few minutes ago, the underlying accusation. It was to make the people of this township not get hit with possible increased taxes or something to pay for this unfunded mandate.
I'm sorry, but for supervisor, that's not right. That is not the way it was. There's too many people here that agree with the way the contract was.
Oh, I'm not arguing about that. I'm saying that's why it was slowed down.
Yes.